evening newscast.
Thousands march in downtown St. Louis to join a national protest against gun violence. St. Louis is one of dozens of cities taking part today. It's called March for Our Lives, and it drew hundreds of thousands of people across the country. Good evening. I'm Casey Nolan. Thanks for being with us.
And I'm Christina Coleman. The protests come a month after a gunman killed 17 people at a high school in Parkland, Florida. Outrage from students across the country followed, and cries for gun reform grew louder. 5 on Your Side's Ray Strickland shows us how one child's pain is motivating them to make a difference. Ray?
Well, Christina, Casey, we're just outside Union Station. This march started actually across the street from here inside of this park as thousands of people marched on Market Street. Now, when they were doing so, we met a kid with a very personal reason for joining this march.
Justice! Now!
A march down Market with thousands speaking as one, and one of the marchers speaking up for the first time.
We can't do anything about hate. Hate will always exist.
A darkness Pierce Hastings experienced as a 14-year-old boy brought him to the street of St. Louis Saturday.
I'm here to march for my aunt, Terry Lamano.
Pierce's aunt, Terry, died in a mass shooting almost 3 years ago in Overland Park, Kansas.
He was blinded by hate.
A Missouri man murdered Lamano and 2 others outside of 2 different Jewish facilities. Lamano was visiting her mom, Pierce's grandma, at a nursing home she was living in.
If he was alive, if she had the ability, she would have forgiven him. She knew that in everybody's hearts there is an inherent good.
Pierce was crushed after the death of his aunt and the love that was lost with her.
One of my biggest regrets is the fact that I couldn't come out as gay to my aunt before she was killed.
His pain turned into passion after 17 people were killed at a high school in Parkland, Florida. Following the lead of surviving students, he says he knew he had to do something.
We have to disable hateful people from making their impact.
It was tragedy that led him to stand shoulder to shoulder with thousands of people protesting gun violence in downtown St. Louis.
This is only the beginning.
A movement he hopes will result in gun control. Change, he believes, will mean fewer people suffering the same fate as his aunt and victims like those in Parkland.
We will all move on from here to make the change that we want to see in this country.
Now, Pierce says he has been calling his local politicians like Congresswoman Ann Wagner and Claire McCaskill, urging them for gun reform. Now, he also tells me he's going to help organize a walkout at his school next month, and he goes to St. Louis University High School. Live downtown, Ray Strickland, 5 on Your Side.
Ray, thank you. A man armed with a rifle caught a lot of people's attention at the march today. Everything remained calm while marchers walked past him on Market. He was answering questions from people. He said he had no intention of causing fear or hurting anyone. He only wanted to make sure, quote, both sides of the gun argument were represented at the march. Missouri is an open carry state, so this was all perfectly legal.